Alrighty, well, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey folks, I don't know if anyone told you or not, but this is a cannon firing and we need a certain level of enthusiasm before we can. So, try that again. Good morning.
Good morning.
That was much better, thank you very much. My name is Brett. Joining me up here on the upper gun platform is AJ. Can everyone say hi, AJ?
Hi, AJ.
Hi. Very friendly crew, that's good to see. Now we're going to show you folks how to properly clean, load, prime, and fire this cannon right here. Now this is a model 1841 6-pound field gun, which we refer to as a 6-pounder. And why do you think we called it that? That's right, we fire a cannonball that weighed 6 pounds. And we could fire that 6-pound cannonball up to 1 mile away, which for your reference is just past the shores of Round Island across the channel there. Now unfortunately at that distance I have no idea where the ball would land. The best I could tell you is that we'd hit that tree there. Green one.
Which tree?
Well, we'll get to that.
Which tree?
We have a slightly more accurate range of about half a mile, which is at the end of the stone breakwalls in the harbor there. Now at half a mile, an excellent cannon crew would be expected to hit a 100-foot stationary target 1 out of every 3 shots. So accuracy is kind of a relative term with a gun like this. But fortunately for AJ and I, we will not be shooting a cannonball here today. Now I know that's kind of a disappointment, and you can all say, "Aw."
Aww.
I know we'd love nothing more than to fire a cannonball for you, but there are a couple of reasons why we cannot. First off, who came here on a ferry boat today? Right, and who would like to go home on one? Alright, that's what I thought. Now also, it'd actually be historically inaccurate for us to fire a cannonball from up here on this platform, because as you heard me say, this is a model 1841 cannon. We are portraying soldiers from the 1880s American infantry, so this should tell you something. The United States Army saw fit to send Fort Mackinac a 40-year-old gun that is wildly inaccurate. How important do you think we were in a military aspect? Not very. And that's because we were important for a different reason. We were actually the headquarters of Mackinac National Park. Now, not many people attack national parks. National parks do not attack very many people. So we had our cannons up here for very peaceful reasons. To fire off salutes, where we just fire off the gunpowder to make some noise and smoke. But we did that very regularly. In fact, we did it every morning when we raised the flags, every evening when we lowered the flags, on national holidays like Memorial Day, the 4th of July, Washington's birthday even. We'd even fire for special visitors coming into the harbor, like military officials or government officials. And fortunately for you all, AJ and I think you're very special people, so we're going to fire for you. How does that sound?
Yay!
Good, all right. Now to take care of this salute firing, they would send 2 soldiers up here. One of them would get this nifty leather patch that he'd put on his thumb. He would step to the rear of the weapon and cover up a tiny hole in the back, called the touch hole. Now, I'm just making sure that no air gets in or out of the breech of the weapon during the cleaning process. It makes everything a lot more efficient. Now the first tool that AJ has here to clean out the cannon is called a gunner's worm or auger. This is a corkscrew device on the end of a stick. We run that down the barrel to scrape out any solid debris that might be left from a previous firing. We want to get that out of there so it doesn't build up and clog our cannon. We'd use this tool after every 2 or 3 shots if we were on a battlefield. Now after he gets all that debris out of there, we can move on to the next tool, which is called the wet swab. Now the wet swab is essentially a large, dirty, wet Q-tip. Now we dunk that in a bucket of water and then run that down the barrel to extinguish any lingering sparks or embers. And it puts out that fire in 2 ways. First off, it's wet. Fire and water don't mix. But also we're creating a vacuum inside our cannon here with my thumb stalling. You heard that thumb because he pulled it out. And in the vacuum there's no air or oxygen, so we shouldn't have any fire. So we should be safe to load in our charge. Now our charge for your folks' salute today is 3 ounces of black gunpowder wrapped in some historically accurate Reynolds Wrap aluminum foil. Now in the 1880s we would have been using a cotton muslin cloth to wrap our charge, but that could actually send burning cloth into Father Marquette Park here today, and that's not a particularly safe thing to do. Now one more safety invention we have is this ramrod. You'll notice that it has a bend in the end so that AJ can stand off to the side. In the 1880s, our ramrod was actually the other end of our wet swab, which was much more efficient, but it forced the gunner to place his chest right in front of the barrel of the cannon, pounding down on live gunpowder. Does that sound very safe to you?
No.
All right, now we're going to roll this cannon forward. And AJ is going to step around to the rear of the weapon and begin the priming process by taking out a brass spike called a gimlet. Now he takes that piece of brass and runs it down the hole where I had my thumb to pierce open the foil around that charge. Now the reason he does that is to expose the powder inside to a spark created by our ignition device. Now, in the 1880s, they were using this little guy right here. This is called a friction primer. This is a small brass tube. It's full of black gunpowder and topped with a friction-sensitive material and a pin. This is kind of like the cross between a strike-anywhere match and a hand grenade. We put that in the touch hole and use a rope to pull out the pin. That causes the tip to flare up just like a match head, igniting the powder in this tube here, and that will send a jet of flame down to ignite our charge. Very handy, wouldn't you say? Yeah. Now again, these were invented way back in the 1840s so that we could fire in all kinds of weather conditions. So even if it's raining or snowing or windy, we'd still be able to fire. With that, AJ is just going to attach a rope to that pin like I mentioned to give him some leverage to pull that out to ignite our charge. So we are just about ready to fire. If you folks would like to find nature's earplugs at the end of your index fingers, just insert like so, we'll do a fine job. And with that, there are just two commands to fire this cannon. They are ready, fire! And there's your folks' cannon salute to welcome you here to Fort Mackinac.